Before we start this incredible story, I want you to hit that like button right now and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss what happens next. Trust me, the ending will absolutely shock you. Jefferson High School's cafeteria was packed with over 500 students eating, talking, and laughing on a cold Tuesday afternoon in November. The new girl, Maya Thompson, had just gotten her lunch tray and was looking for a place to sit. She was quiet, shy, and kept her eyes down as she scanned the room. She didn't notice the four bullies watching her from across the cafeteria. Their names were Brandon, Tyler, Derek, and Justin. They ran the school like a mafia crew. Everyone feared them, everyone gave them respect, and everyone stayed out of their way. They'd been making fun of the new girl since her first day last week. Her clothes weren't expensive enough. Her hair wasn't styled right. She ate lunch alone while they ran the social scene. Maya found an empty table near the back of the cafeteria and sat down, grateful to finally have a quiet moment to herself. That's when everything changed. Brandon and his crew stood up. They walked across the cafeteria like they owned the place. Other students watched nervously, already sensing what was about to happen. Everyone knew what came next: humiliation, embarrassment, maybe some food thrown in her face. Brandon grabbed Maya from behind. Tyler grabbed her other arm. They lifted her up and with one powerful motion, they slammed her onto the nearest lunch table. Her food flew everywhere. Her water bottle spilled across someone else's lunch. The entire cafeteria fell silent. "Welcome to Jefferson High, freak," Brandon laughed, his voice loud and cruel. But what happened next would change everything. What these bullies saw in the next 30 seconds made them scream and run out of the cafeteria like their lives depended on it. And they never came back to bully anyone ever again. Maya Thompson had just moved to Columbus, Ohio 3 weeks ago. Her family had relocated because her father had gotten a new job as a surgeon at Ohio State University Medical Center. They'd moved from a small town in West Virginia where Maya had attended a private school with only 200 students total. Jefferson High School had over 2,000 students. It was overwhelming, loud, and absolutely terrifying for a quiet 14-year-old girl who was naturally shy and kept to herself. On her first day, Maya had walked through the halls wearing clothes from a small-town mall. Nothing fancy, nothing trendy, nothing that would impress anyone at a big city high school. She'd had her hair in a simple ponytail. She wasn't wearing makeup. She'd made the mistake of sitting alone at lunch because she didn't know anyone. By the end of that first day, rumors were already spreading about the weird new girl. Within a week, Brandon's crew had made her their main target. They'd knock her books out of her hands in the hallway. They'd make fun of her West Virginia accent. They'd laugh loudly when she walked past their table in the cafeteria. But Maya had learned long ago not to fight back, not to cry, not to show any reaction at all. In her experience, bullies fed on emotion. If you gave them nothing to work with, eventually they got bored and moved on to other targets. What Maya hadn't told anyone, not her parents, not the school counselor, not a single person at Jefferson High, was her secret. Maya Thompson was a black belt in karate. She had been training since she was 5 years old under her grandfather, who had been a martial arts master in West Virginia. She trained 4 hours a day, 5 days a week. She'd competed in national tournaments. She'd won every single competition she'd entered since the age of 8. But she kept it secret because martial arts was the one thing that was just for her. It was her sanctuary, her escape, her safe place. She didn't want the competitive high school environment to ruin it. She didn't want people knowing about it because then she'd have to be that martial arts girl, and she was tired of being labeled and categorized. Her grandfather had told her something important before she left West Virginia. "Maya, the true power of martial arts is not in fighting. It's in discipline, respect, and understanding when not to fight. A real master knows that violence should always be the last resort. Always try to talk first. Always try to walk away first. But if someone threatens your safety or your dignity in a way that can't be ignored, then you have every right to defend yourself." That Tuesday in the cafeteria, as Maya was being slammed onto the lunch table, something inside her shifted. It wasn't anger exactly. It was more like a switch being flipped. She realized that she'd already tried walking away. She'd already tried not showing any reaction. She'd tried being invisible. And it hadn't worked. When her back hit the lunch table, she felt the pain, but more than that, she felt clarity. She understood in that moment that sometimes you have to take a stand. The entire cafeteria had gone silent when Brandon and Tyler slammed Maya onto the table. Hundreds of students were staring. Some had their phones out, already recording for social media. The lunchroom monitors, the teachers supposed to be watching, had stepped outside for a break like they always did. Brandon was laughing, his hand still on Maya's shoulder, pushing her down against the hard table. There was a smirk on his face that showed he thought this was the funniest thing in the world. Tyler was standing next to him, laughing just as hard. Derek and Justin were making jokes, high-fiving each other. "Look at the freaky new girl," Brandon said, his voice dripping with cruel confidence. "Can't even eat lunch without getting destroyed." The other students in the cafeteria watched nervously. Some looked away. Some kept recording. A few looked like they wanted to help but were too scared of becoming Brandon's next target. That was how bullying worked at Jefferson High. It was a system of fear that kept everyone silent and complicit. Maya felt her heart pounding in her chest. She could feel every eye in the cafeteria on her. She could hear the laughter. She could feel the humiliation washing over her. Her face was burning with shame and anger. Brandon kept his hand on her shoulder, pressing down hard. He was using his body weight, pinning her against the table. It was starting to hurt. One of the lunch trays was digging into her ribs. She could smell food everywhere. Pizza, chocolate milk, and something else that was going to stain her already worn sweater. "Stay down there, freak," Tyler said, and he started to push her head down toward the table. That's when something changed inside Maya. She thought about her first day at Jefferson High, when she'd sat alone at lunch because she didn't know anyone. She thought about the way Brandon and his crew had laughed at her from across the cafeteria. She thought about all the times they'd made fun of her in the hallways. She thought about the girl in her chemistry class who told Maya that she should go back to West Virginia because she didn't fit in with city people. But more than that, she thought about her grandfather's words. If someone threatens your safety or your dignity in a way that can't be ignored, then you have every right to defend yourself. She had the right, and she was done being a victim. Maya took a deep breath and made her move. Her body, which had been lying flat against the table, suddenly became a weapon. She used her core muscles. Years and years of karate training had made them incredibly strong. With one powerful motion, she twisted her body and brought her elbow up hard, catching Brandon directly in the chest. Brandon flew backward. He lost his grip on her shoulder and stumbled across the cafeteria, his feet barely touching the ground. He crashed into a trash can so hard that it toppled over, sending garbage flying everywhere. The cafeteria erupted in chaos. Tyler reached for Maya, but she was already moving. She rolled off the table with the grace and precision of a trained athlete. The moment her feet hit the ground, she executed a perfect spinning kick that sent Tyler crashing into the milk dispensing machine. The impact was so hard that the machine tilted forward, and milk poured all over him. Derek and Justin tried to run, but Maya was faster than they were. She'd been training in speed and agility her entire life. She moved like water, flowing and graceful, but every movement was deadly effective. Derek tried to grab her from the side, but Maya ducked under his arm, grabbed his wrist, and used his own momentum against him. She performed a perfect hip throw that sent him flying over her shoulder. He crashed onto one of the cafeteria tables, breaking his fall with his stomach instead of his back. Lucky for him, because if he'd landed on his spine, he might have been seriously injured. Justin saw what was happening and tried to get away. He ran toward the exit, pushing other students out of his way in his panic. But Maya was in pursuit, not because she wanted to hurt him but because she wanted to send a message. She didn't catch him. She let him escape, but she threw a perfect roundhouse kick that came so close to his head that he felt the wind from her foot moving past his ear. He screamed and ran faster, crashing through the cafeteria doors into the hallway. Brandon, covered in garbage from the trash can, struggled to his feet. He looked at Maya with an expression of pure shock and fear. His entire world had been turned upside down in about 10 seconds. He'd gone from being the most powerful person in this cafeteria to being completely overwhelmed and terrified. "What the?" he started to say. But Maya held up her hand, and she spoke with a voice so calm and controlled that it was scarier than if she'd been angry. "If any of you ever put your hands on me again," she said, making sure every student in the cafeteria could hear her, "I will show you exactly how much martial arts training costs over 9 years. You just experienced about 5% of what I'm capable of doing. Do you really want to see the other 95%? Brandon's face went completely white. He didn't even try to respond. He just turned and ran out of the cafeteria, following his friends into the hallway. Tyler, still soaking wet with milk, ran after him, leaving a trail of white liquid behind him on the floor. Within seconds, all 4 bullies were gone. The cafeteria was completely silent for a long moment. Then one person started clapping. Then another. Then another. Within 30 seconds, the entire cafeteria was applauding. Students were cheering. They were whooping and hollering. They were finally celebrating the moment when one of the bullies had been put in their place. Maya stood in the middle of the cafeteria, her chest heaving, her heart still pounding, surrounded by the sound of hundreds of people cheering her name. The video of what happened in the cafeteria spread across social media like wildfire. Within 2 hours, it had been posted on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and YouTube. It had hundreds of thousands of views. News outlets were picking it up. Teachers were talking about it in the break room. Parents were calling the school asking questions. But what happened next surprised everyone, including Maya. Brandon, Tyler, Derek, and Justin didn't come back to school the next day. They didn't come back the day after that either. Principal Harrison called all 4 of them into his office and then called their parents. The investigation that followed revealed a pattern of bullying that went back years. The 4 bullies had bullied dozens of students. They'd made a girl transfer schools because she developed severe anxiety attacks from the harassment. They'd driven another boy to the point of suicidal ideation. He'd written a suicide note before his mom found it and got him professional help. They'd stolen money from freshman students, spread cruel rumors, and created a climate of fear throughout the entire school. Principal Harrison suspended all 4 of them for 2 weeks. But more than that, he required them to attend mandatory counseling sessions. He made them write apology letters to every student they'd bullied. And he made them do 50 hours of community service, helping out at the after-school programs for younger kids, learning to understand what they'd done wrong. It was the most powerful consequence any of them had ever faced. But that wasn't the most surprising part of the turnaround. 3 days after the cafeteria incident, Maya was sitting alone at lunch again. She'd chosen to sit by herself because she wanted some quiet time. But as she was eating, a girl approached her table. It was Emma Rodriguez, who had been one of the quieter students in the popular crowd, the one who'd always seemed uncomfortable with Brandon's bullying but never had the courage to speak up. "Can I sit here?" Emma asked nervously. Maya nodded and Emma sat down. They started talking. Emma apologized for not standing up to the bullies sooner. She explained that she'd been scared of losing her social status, scared of becoming a target herself. She asked Maya if she would be willing to sit with her and her friends at lunch, not as part of their group but just to hang out together. By the end of the week, Maya had a friend group. By the end of the month, she had become friends with people from all different social circles, the athletes, the artists, the academic kids, the kids who didn't fit into any category. Because Maya had done something that almost no one in high school had the courage to do. She'd stood up for herself, and in doing so, she'd inadvertently given everyone else permission to stand up for themselves too. The climate of fear that Brandon and his crew had created began to dissolve. Students who had been bullied started reporting incidents instead of suffering in silence. Other bullies in the school, who weren't as powerful as Brandon's crew but had still been hurting people, suddenly realized that consequences were real, and that the victims weren't going to take it anymore. But the most powerful moment came 3 weeks later. Brandon, Tyler, Derek, and Justin came back from their suspension. They were required to go through the counseling program and do their community service. The first day back, the entire school was watching to see what would happen. Would they try to get revenge on Maya? Would they try to bully other students? Would they go back to their old ways? Instead, something completely unexpected happened. Brandon approached Maya in the hallway, without his friends around, without trying to act tough. He looked smaller somehow, less powerful, more human. His eyes were red like he'd been crying. "I wanted to apologize," he said, his voice quiet and genuine. "What I did to you in the cafeteria was wrong. What we did to dozens of other students over the years was wrong. I've been in counseling and I'm starting to understand how much pain we caused. I can't undo what I've done, but I wanted you to know that I'm sorry. I'm actually sorry, not just because I got in trouble, but because I realize now what a terrible person I was being." Maya looked at him carefully. She could see that he meant it. Not everyone she bullied would have had the courage to apologize. Not everyone would have changed. But Brandon seemed genuine. "Thank you for saying that," Maya replied. "I appreciate it." Apology accepted. Brandon nodded and then he walked away. He went back to class. He didn't try to act like nothing had happened. He didn't try to pretend everything was cool. He just accepted his consequences and started the long process of becoming a better person. 3 months after the cafeteria incident, Maya was sitting in the school library during her free period when she received an email notification. She opened it and found a message from the National Association Against Bullying. They had seen the video of her standing up to the bullies, and they wanted her to speak at a national conference about her experience. They wanted her to talk about what it means to stand up for yourself, about the importance of not being a silent witness to bullying, and about how one moment of courage can change an entire school's culture. Maya said yes. In the weeks leading up to the conference, she thought a lot about what happened that day in the cafeteria. She thought about the moment she decided to stop being a victim. She thought about the fear she felt as she was being slammed against that table, and the clarity that came when she decided she wouldn't take it anymore. Most importantly, she thought about the lesson her grandfather had taught her. The true power of martial arts is not in fighting. It's in discipline, respect, and understanding when not to fight. But if someone threatens your safety or your dignity in a way that can't be ignored, then you have every right to defend yourself. On the day of the conference, Maya stood on a stage in front of 500 high school students from across the country. She told them about being bullied. She told them about the day she decided to stand up for herself. She told them about the changes that came after that moment, not just in her own life but in the entire school culture. But more than that, she told them about responsibility. "I want to be clear about something," she said, her voice calm and strong. "I was able to defend myself that day because I had training. But not everyone has martial arts training, and that's okay. The real lesson isn't that you should all take karate classes. The real lesson is about standing up for yourself in whatever way you can. It might be finding your voice and speaking up. It might be walking away from the situation and getting help from an adult. It might be telling a teacher or a counselor. It might be reaching out to a friend for support." She paused, looking out at all the faces in the audience. "But here's the most important thing," she continued. "The most powerful thing is not just about individuals standing up for themselves. It's about all of us refusing to be silent witnesses to bullying. If you see someone being bullied and you do nothing, then you're part of the problem. You don't have to physically fight the bullies. You don't have to be a superhero. You just have to have the courage to tell an adult, to reach out to the victim, to let them know they're not alone." She told the story of Emma, who had finally found the courage to approach her after the cafeteria incident. She explained how one act of friendship from Emma had changed her entire experience at Jefferson High. "Emma didn't physically defend me," Maya said, "but she defended my humanity. She treated me with respect and kindness and friendship. And that was just as powerful as anything physical could ever be." When Maya finished her speech, the entire auditorium stood up and applauded. Some students were crying. Some looked inspired. Some looked like they were having moments of recognition, recognizing all the times they'd been silent witnesses to bullying, and deciding right then and there to change that. After the conference, Maya returned to school at Jefferson High. The culture had continued to shift. Students who had never spoken up before were now reporting bullying incidents. The school had implemented new anti-bullying programs. And most importantly, there was a sense that everyone had a responsibility to make the school a safe and kind place for everyone. Brandon, Tyler, Derek, and Justin had each, in their own way, started the process of changing. Some had more success than others, but they all understood that there were consequences for their actions, and they all understood that their old way of life wasn't going to work anymore. Maya's grandfather called her one evening to see how she was doing. "I heard about what you did," he said proudly. "Defending yourself and then using that experience to help other people. That's true martial arts, Maya. That's the highest level of mastery. Not just having the power to fight, but having the wisdom to know when to fight, when to talk, and when to help others find their own power." As Maya hung up the phone, she realized something important. She'd thought her martial arts training was just for herself, just for competitions and personal achievement. But it turned out that her greatest gift was being able to show other people that they were stronger than they believed they were. Not just physically strong, but strong in their spirit, strong in their convictions, strong in their ability to make a difference. The bullies who had seemed so powerful had actually been revealed to be weak. They depended on fear and intimidation to control others. But when someone stood up to them with courage and clarity, their power evaporated instantly. The real strength in the school, the real power, came from kindness, friendship, respect, and the willingness to stand up for what was right. And that power was available to everyone. Final call to action. If this story inspired you, if it made you think about the power of standing up for yourself and others, then I need you to do something right now. Hit that like button. Share this video with someone you know who needs to hear this message. And subscribe to our channel so you never miss these powerful stories about courage, redemption, and real human connection. Because here's the truth. Bullying is still happening in schools everywhere. There are students right now who are being hurt, isolated, and made to feel like they don't belong. There are also students who are witnessing this bullying and staying silent because they're scared. And there are bullies who don't even realize how much damage they're causing. We need more people like Maya. People who are willing to stand up. We need more people like Emma. People who are willing to show friendship and kindness. And we need more people who are willing to speak up and say that bullying is not okay in our schools, in our workplaces, and in our communities. Leave a comment below and tell us. Have you ever stood up to a bully? Have you ever had the courage to reach out to someone who was being bullied? Have you ever realized that you were being bullied and decided to stop accepting it? Share your story in the comments. Your experience might inspire someone else to find their own courage. Also, if you or someone you know is being bullied, please reach out to a trusted adult, a parent, a teacher, a school counselor, or a mental health professional. There are resources available to help, and you don't have to face it alone. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell. We release new stories every single week about real people who found the courage to make a difference. We'll see you in the next video. Stay strong, stay brave, and remember, you are stronger than you believe.